Hello everyone, welcome to the eCommerce podcast. Today we're at Mondelēz World Headquarters with Global VP and Head of eCommerce, Jie Cheng. Jie, welcome to the show and thanks for accepting us today. At the end of the day, we're all measured by our success at the business impact level. So your team, I know, and you're talking about in detail, your team has a lot of strategic objectives. Yeah. Some of them is about digital transformation, some of them about bringing new digital capabilities, some of them are gaining market share or beating another brand, competitor brand. So how do you align your team's strategic objectives to the overall Mondelēz business impact? And how are you making sure it's transparent and measurable? Because I know it's firsthand, but I just wanted to hear it from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the first part of the question isn't, it's must need to happen. You can't have a different objective from what the company tried to do, right? Exactly. It needs to be aligned. So for example, for us, the digital commerce, the Vision 2030 for digital commerce, it's part of the organization's enterprise strategy. Right. So we have like the 4 pillars, right? So the digital commerce is under the growth pillar. It's basically unlock new growth channels, right? So that is very important to align with all the business units. They all carry it as well, right? And the Center of Excellence team, also share that, right? So that's very important to be aligned, and which also means your cross-functional partners, they also share the objective as well. True. Because you need their support, right? There's KPIs need to be measured across, right? For example, if driving digital commerce is part of the team, and we need both supply chain, or we call Mondelēz, called MDS, the digital, the Mondelēz Digital Service team, which is the IT team basically. They also have their measurable KPI as well, right? So how we go. So that align that measurement, align that objective is the first step. So you can't have a different objective. It need to be aligned with a broader one, led up to the one. So hopefully that answers your first part of the question. Yes. In terms of measurement, yes, I think there's 2 sets of metrics. One is the hard metrics you do need. At the end of the day, yes, it's about net revenue growth as well. It's about the market share. Are we gaining share? Are we being the category leader? Are we growing faster than the category? If you're growing faster than categories, essentially you should be gaining share as well, right? So those are very hard KPI we're driving, right? And are we advancing in that space? Revenue-wise, are we higher than past, right? Year-over-year growth, those are. But also other metrics, maybe they should be the leading, KPIs goal, delivers and KPI as well, like the flywheel execution. That. So we take a very disciplined approach about how we drive the flywheel. We use it internally at Mondelēz, but in other companies we call it different names as well. It is really the framework of drive digital commerce business, right? Assortment, right? The content, be visible on search, on that, it's a common knowledge in the industry. But how do you track it? Is our content always best in class? So I think we evolve as well. At the very beginning, for example, digital shelf PDP, product detail page, we only look at it then, do we have the 3 by, why buy button? Or do you have 5 images? So those kind of compliance. Now we are elevating those score as well. How is our quality? How's the product image quality, right? And it's how. So we use Visit, for example, to evaluate is the image is really best in class, for example, right? So I think over the time you also need to elevate your KPI as well. But those are kind of soft KPI, I would say, to translate into the final, the hard number, like revenue growth, right? So we look at those 2. Similarly, we look at retail media, right? How the ROI looks like. And and also if you look at the team, right, we look at the engagement score.
Of course.
There's a lot of KPIs, but I think at the end of the day, the metrics, the hard metric is market share, I mentioned, and the revenue growth. Yeah.
These are some of the best KPIs I worked in the past and I loved. And to your point, soft KPIs really needs to be supporting the hard KPIs, because hard KPIs are sometimes easier to track, harder to achieve. Soft KPIs sometimes get a little bit more exciting, a little bit more intriguing for teams, but they need to be supporting the hard KPIs.
Yeah.
And these are all trending KPIs. Which brings me to another challenge, because while you're working in the office, you showed me one of the newly elevated brands in the vast Mondelēz portfolio, Perfect Snacks.
Yeah.
And we discussed it, how they promoted from the venture snacks portfolio to the main enterprise portfolio.
Yeah.
Mondelēz has more than 30, maybe up to 40 different brands globally across 15 business units.
Probably more than that.
More than that?
I don't even, I lose count for that. We're buying new brands.
Yeah. And my favorite, of course, Milka is my favorite, Oreo is my favorite, Côte d'Or in Europe is my favorite, Toblerone, and there are many of our favorites across different markets.
Yeah.
There's a lot of challenges managing a vast brand portfolio while you're implementing those digital transformations. Can you give us some tips? Can you give us some recommendations or your learnings about how do you tackle those challenges managing this vast brand portfolio of Mondelēz while you're implementing those transformation initiatives?
Yeah. Again, I will maybe focus the question on from the digital commerce angle,
Yes.
right? Because I feel our brand ambassador are better to tell the brand story, right? But of course, we all work on brands. So first of all, I feel very privileged and fortunate to be able to work on a lot of iconic brands, from my Hershey time, you have Kisses, Reese's, now then the Phillips, then Campbell Soup, or the Goldfish, Milano cookie, now at Mondelēz, the Oreo. You missed the one bigger brand, which is actually biggest in terms of revenue. Lots of people do not know, it's Cadbury. It's a
Cadbury, of course.
Cadbury in US is licensed by Hershey, but outside the US, it's a Mondelēz brand. It's a multi-billion brands, even bigger than Oreo. So all these brands, they are vastly, But I think from the challenge perspective, it is the cultural context is different.
Yes.
Right? Market by market, the landscape is very different, and the way route to market is very different too.
True.
For example, if I look at the e-commerce, and you know this very well, Mert, although we talk about digital commerce or e-commerce, but they mean different things in market by market, right?
Right.
When it comes to, apparently, we are here in US, e-com, it's Amazon, it's also omni-channel customer, like the Walmart, Kroger, all those, right? But also last mile, like Instacart, right? So those are kind of mainly the e-com, but dominated by omni-channel and Amazon mainly, right? But when you go to Europe, it's predominantly omni-channel. It's a Tesco, it's a Carrefour. So click and collect is the main dominant fulfillment method, right? And the same for Australia. It's 99% of business on e-com is happening with those two retailers, Woolworths and Coles.
True.
Right. So that's kind of, but if you move to Asia, China, it's so diverse. E-com means Alibaba, Tmall, JD, but also Pinduoduo, which is basically the parent company of Temu, which is really gaining traction these days, right? And the Douyin, which is TikTok in China, right? The social commerce, live streaming, right? And the last milers like Meituan. In the past, it's dominated by Alibaba, Tmall, and JD. Now it's like much more diversified, right? There are new players, right? There's no clear winners still in China, right? Then you go to India. It's majority is last miler. It's a Swiggy, it's a Blinkit, right? Then of course you also have Flipkart there as well, but it's very last mile delivery. Go to Latin America. It's eB2B.
Oh yes.
Right, it's B2B. How do you really reach in the traditional trades, among the pop stores via the digital channel, right? So our Brazil team is doing amazing job under Maria Mojica's leadership, right? So it's amazingly vast different. So the route to market is very different. So you need to adjust your strategy, localize it based on that, right? Then speaking of, so those are kind of the challenges, but also regulation challenges very different. In the route to market, each the region by region value. For example, you probably heard about the HFSS in UK, right? The high fat sugar. Unfortunately, chocolate is falls in that
into category.
the category. So it limits us to promote our product in store and potentially online as well. I think it's coming online as well, right? So you need to be respectful of those regulations as well. So that creates a lot of challenges, complexity, and how you need to pivot that. But like I said earlier, everything always comes to a silver lining as well. Working on global, and that's why I love the global role. Global company, global brands, there's certainly scale, but also global learning, right?
It is.
I think there's a lot of synergy you can. So a lot of times there's one great, brilliant brand idea campaign in one market. You know, as much as different from market by market, there's always some similarity. And at the end of the day, we're all human beings, right? So unlock that similarity and really implement it from one region to the other. That creates scale for global brands, right? That's one. I think also the global brands, you also have the capacity, potential to run a multi-cluster market campaign as well. Like last year, I think we did this Blackpink campaign, in Asia for Oreo. That is one of the brand campaign. We were very successful. We have Cadbury always have this brand promise about generosity, the glass half full, right? Yep. Generosity, which we ran campaign, for Easter. It's a similar campaign, although with local context, but it's a very similar campaign idea from UK to Australia to India to all the other as well, right? So those kind of the when you talk about the global brands, there's a power of the global brands. Yeah.
One trivial note about this generosity campaign with Cadbury, you just swept all the awards in Cannes just 1.5 months ago with many of those campaigns. Yeah. And I saw the line of the awards got by those campaign. It's amazing.
Yeah. Kudos to all the marketing team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This only can be done with upskilling, vision, and the right execution in the market, but there's a most important component to be able to do this really cross-market, cross-business unit accelerations and campaigns, which is data. I speak a lot about data. I study a lot about data lately, last 2-3 years. I'm still studying another program in my school about no-code AI tools. And I know you're big fan of data or data implementation and execution in those campaigns, and we have a massive data analytics team we used to have. I was a part of, you still have, of course, at Mondelēz. How do you see the impact of data in today's executions, and do you think it's utilized to its full capacity, to its full potential, or there's still some room to grow, room to improve in the data's involvement into e-commerce execution?
Yeah, I think the second half of the question is easy to answer. Definitely more room to implement. I don't think we are doing some really good pockets of excellence here and there, but definitely it's more opportunity for us to unlock. Yeah, certainly. I actually think the whole idea of e-commerce, now digital commerce, or the digital marketing, early days, internet marketing, I thought it's because of data, right? It's in that space, right? It plays the insights you can get over there. Yeah, data certainly is critical role in business, right? You need the data to understand the consumer preference, and data for innovation, product innovation. You need the data to you mentioned about the personalization and scale. Mondelēz is doing very well. Now we call empathy and scale, right? With data, that is anchored on data. And you need the data for productivity, right? True. So data is used everywhere in the business, right? Maybe I can also anchoring on the digital commerce, how we use data to drive more growth, right? I can give you maybe 2 examples.
Please.
One example is how I mentioned about the digital shelf, right? The PDP, product detail page earlier. Apparently in e-commerce, that's fundamental, right?
Yes.
You need to have the best-in-class PDP, tells a good brand story, and also visible. Otherwise, people cannot find you. It's not visible, then it's all the efforts is to no avail, right? So and to do that, we also partner with at Mondelēz, we partner with CIQ for the data measurement tool, right? They have a pretty powerful tool. The tool tells us all the data, the quality of a product, the visibility of the product, but also the consumer reviews. They measure the reviews and measure our search rankings, everything as well, right? So we use that data to do real-time adjustment. So we can improve our product detail page, the visibility, but also tweak with the right maybe keywords, right? So because the tool tells you a lot of, based on the shopper data, the views you get from that. So that's one way for the digital commerce side, use data for some quick real-time adjustment.
This is amazing, by the way. Near real-time content optimization with data. This is super powerful. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So that's one thing. The other piece about the data, using, and I have been pushing this more as well in the organization. And I shared that perspective also at the shop talk, which you were there too in EU in Barcelona last month, right? We need to have this stronger partnership with our retail partner as well. Part of the reason I say that is, I think especially during the pandemic, the e-com took off with all the retailers as well. The retailers garnered incredible data and insights about the shopper. And that's it's really real gold. That's why you have retail media now, right? Because they want to monetize the data they garnered, right? And to also make the retail business more profitable, right? So that's the retail side. But brand, what do we have? What's the key thing? Brand know consumer trends, know the consumer preference, and brand develop, like we know our categories so well, right? And we know our products so well. We develop amazing high quality products, right? That's brand can have. So I think there should be more strong partnership in that the retailers, sharing more willing to share retail data, insights, and with that, they can also have the rights to win more dollar for retail media on their site as well from the brand, right? A brand can gain the data insight, develop better products, and better marketing campaign, higher ROI, right? So that key partnership is very important. So one key example I can share with you, and we are doing so well in China with our partnership with Meituan. For those who are not familiar with China's digital landscape, Meituan is similar to Instacart in US, right? But they are also probably more, it's probably combined DoorDash and Instacart because they deliver restaurant food as well, grocery restaurant and beyond that as well. And Meituan has garnered these incredible insights about their shoppers. So Mondelēz has this strategic partnership with Meituan. For that, we are able to, get more insights about what shoppers are buying. For example, this partnership enables us to unlock this opportunity about afternoon tea. So basically, what we find is that people, especially office, young professionals, they use the Meituan's app to order afternoon tea or coffee, like 2 or 3 o'clock, and deliver to the office building.
Okay.
So this is a great opportunity, especially last year when we launched our Oreo Airy Cake in China. How about pairing this afternoon tea or coffee with a little bit treat, right? This Oreo Airy Cake, right? So this is a new opportunity for Oreo. So basically we're leaning in with this afternoon tea pairing occasion. When people order coffee or tea, you have this Mondelēz offer for that pairing is you. So that is one occasion we use. In addition, we also unlock a new occasion about picnic.
Yes.
Family picnic outing is apparently a thing too. How about making sure Oreo is your must-have snack when you go picnic? So these are all through this data partnership with Meituan. So those are kind of great example. I show us how we use data to unlock new occasion, but also reaching new consumer potential, new to brand is a key metric, by the way. Another soft metric, we also look at that, new to brands metrics, right? So those are kind of things to it.
I was in Barcelona. I listened to your speech about the retailer and brands data partnership. And I'm glad you brought it up here today because in our previous recording at L'Oréal headquarters, I was there in Paris last week, which was coming up soon. Glenn Clorek from L'Oréal, who is the head of retail media and data exploration, he spoke about the same partnership need. So he mentioned the exact same thing you talked about. He said that as brands, we also have very powerful argument to bring to the table, and we're bringing more traffic, and we're bringing new to the category, new to the new customers to the store overall because of our brand power. So I'm glad I'm hearing this from two leaders back to back, and I'm sure it's going to resonate.
And thank you for that, bringing that up to, because we always look at L'Oréal as one of the leaders in the industry. You know, if we are talking about the same thing, that means we are doing something right as well. So thank you.
And this is going to be exciting because retailer brand partnership for retail media, I think, is going to take a few years to come to its advanced levels. And hopefully there will be a lot of unlocking opportunities for both sides. And I'm looking forward to this. I'm working on this area. Now, I want your expertise. I want to pick up your brain, and hopefully we're going to capitalize some of your career insights for the new leaders, new promising leaders into the industry, new promising prospect into the digital commerce world. Because you mentioned earlier ongoing learning. We're both big fan of continuous learning, lifelong students, and it's a crucial virtue to have to be successful in e-commerce. But in addition to that, how can you blend a couple more traits, or maybe some of your recommendations, some of your suggestions for newcomers to the field who wants to shift from one particular function to digital commerce? Where do you suggest them to take their next steps and to continue their skills in the role?
I do get this question quite a lot, both internally and externally. You know, so I think learning. I think that's a probably foremost thing. You need to have this learning or intellectual curiosity, which is very important, especially in the world we're living in now, right? So I personally think that lifelong learning is becoming an economic imperative, honestly. You know, you need to have that, right?
I love it.
So making sure, you know, so that learning is definitely a trait, a must-have now, right? No longer just a luxury. So that's one thing. But in the meantime, I do think it's important to, especially for, you know, you talk about as people come to the space as well. I do think digital commerce is a great shaping experience for a lot of people, because when you think about digital commerce, it covers there's marketing elements of it, there's certain sales element you need to negotiate, right? The sales contract, all that too. But also you need to understand supply chain, because you need different. So it gives you a good experience to connect with different cross-functional team, and that bring in one trait I think is very important, especially for the world we are living in, to be able to collaborate. Collaboration is very important because it gives you, and everything we do in the future it's going to be, there's no clean cut about this is marketing, this is sales. It's all going to be very blurry. It's already blended together, right? And we are living in this perfect space, and a country is become digital commerce. Really, it's commerce, it's marketing, and it's media, right? It's all together. So in this space, you know, the people who are able to connect with other and collaborate are super important. So that's, I think, is a soft skill. It's very important. But also, I think hard skill, analytical, is very important. We're talking about data. With the data comes the analytical skill. So be able to identify the key insights from the data. But otherwise, you can be overwhelmed, right? See the big picture and the connecting dots. I think those are very important analytical skill. Thankfully, I actually worked on finance, as I mentioned, for a couple of years before. I do think my analytical skill is when I have this good sense about number. Right, so I think my P&L or those capabilities, it serves me well in my current role as well. So there's no basically work experience really wasted, in my opinion, right? You always gain something if you are really connect the dots, right? So that's the one other thing I would mention is networking, just like you do, Mert, right?
Thank you.
Networking and seeking out for mentors. I think it's very important, especially for young professionals, connecting with other thought leaders, right? With the industry, networking with people, learn from others, right? And seeking out mentors, coaches, right? To give you those early career advice are super important too. So those are a few, if any, advice I can share. I was recently inspired by this quote by 𝐓𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐤 I think a lot of people follow his Substack newsletter weekly on Sunday morning. You always expect a newsletter from 𝐓𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐤. He's a mentor for me, but also an industry thought leader as well. 𝐓𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐤, if you're listening to this, hopefully you appreciate that as well. I want to give you really a shout out of this quote you shared with us, because 𝐓𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐤 was speaking to the CX organization at Mondelēz, which John Harvison and the team is organizing that. Thank you, John, for also bringing 𝐓𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐤, to the team as well. He said, soft is the new hard. And then again, I actually start to hashtag that now. Soft is the new hard, right? I like hashtag for that, right? It's brilliant because basically what he's saying, in the future, especially the increasingly AI-driven world, the soft skill, which makes you human, basically, is becoming the one that not be able to replace by the AI, but the hard skill can be replaced.
Right.
Soft skill cannot. So soft skill becomes critical skill. When we say soft skill, it's basically be able to influence, be able to empathize, right, as human, be able to lead, be able to collaborate, right, be able to connect. So these are all the soft skills. These are becoming even more important. So if there's one thing I want you to remember for this question, is soft is a new skill, new hard.
And hashtag is coming soon.
Yeah, exactly. So shout out to 𝐓𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐤 saying about that, right? So I definitely leading in that quote as well, right?
No, that's truly remarkable, and I love that quote as well. I'm looking forward to the hashtag coming from your feed. And just another trivial note for those unknown, 𝐓𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐤 is also Jie's neighbor, and we're looking for more hashtags from 𝐓𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐤 in his Substack newsletter.
That's a little bit too much personal detail.
Exactly. But Jie, we're coming to an end of this delightful conversation. I wish we had more time and it never ends, but you have a busy schedule ahead, and we're coming close to the wrap it up. But in the light of all the conversation we had, in the light of all these developments you see on the horizon, what's your final remarks for the audience and for myself as well for the coming years ahead?
Yeah, I actually already said that. Maybe let me just repeat it. A soft skill is a new hard skill, right? I think that's very important because I'm really looking at this AI-driven world, right? The ability to empathize, the ability to lead, to influence, to connect as human being, it's so important. It's really the hard skill. Right?
That's super message, super stressful message. I love it. And with that, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you very much for joining 𝐬𝐵 podcast. It was my pleasure to be hosting you today at Mondelēz World Headquarters with this magnificent weather here in Chicago. Guys, thank you for tuning in the 𝐬𝐵 podcast. Until next time, stay ahead of the curve. Bye now.